All right, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
All right. Thank you for joining us on the couch for this episode of the Weird Obscure World podcast.
I have been abducted.
Wait, what?
The main forms they take are reptilian entities.
So, we have James in tonight.
Yes.
He's going to talk to us about an event that happened the year of my birth.
The year of your birth. The year of 76.
75.
75.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. You're exactly 13 months older than me.
Mm-hmm.
We were nearly, what do they call those? Irish twins?
Yeah, Irish yeah.
Born in the same year.
Yep. But before we do that, we've got to, of course, do some news.
Lay waste to some weird news.
So, I'll go first this go around.
What you got?
All right. So, at the Bronx Zoo, a lady a woman jumped in front of the lion cage, lion
Enclosure.
That's a better word. Okay. And just started dancing in front of the lion.
Why? Just getting down or what?
I don't know. But Maya, M-Y-A-H, it's a pretty way to spell that name, I think. Autry, 32. She was arrested on Wednesday in Brooklyn.
For exhibition of dance moves?
I think it
was...
was...
In front of a savage beast? What's the charge?
Well, probably for trespassing would be the...
Oh, she jumped in the enclosure?
In the enclosure.
Where do the lions inhabit?
Yes.
In the habitat?
Yes.
Oh, she should have got toxic, like intoxication charges.
Yes, she jumps in there. She's waving at it, dancing, and it's a big male lion, a big, stud.
Is this death by lion?
I don't know.
Like suicide by lion?
She's only like 20 feet away from it, too. If it opted, she is lion poop. And
what?
Yeah.
Oh.
Someone, a friend of hers, recorded it for Instagram fame.
Oh, stop it. That would have been a hell of an Instagram had she been eaten.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh. But yeah, so she got arrested. The lion just stares at her like she's a kind of a crazy person, which
she is
pretty smart.
What is wrong with her?
Yeah, so
lions are terrifying.
Yes, they are.
Have you seen the video of that lion hunter that the lion charges him and is a full boat, top speed, approaching this hunter when the hunter kicks up with his gun and takes the lion just seconds before he's eaten? Terrifying. He was on a guided hunt, and you could hear the guides just screaming in the background. Everyone is firing. Everyone is missing. It's like one of those bad cartoons, or like Star Wars, and they're all stormtroopers.
That's insanity.
No one hit the lion, and he literally got a shot off. The lion's mouth was inches from his face.
That's insane.
You don't get in the habitat of these creatures.
No, don't.
Oh.
Not a good idea. No, they're
crazy people
designed to eat you.
Yes.
All right. So we got some Betsy news.
Yes. So we're going to talk about the last McDonald's in Iceland. Apparently, for 31 years, there was a McDonald's open in Iceland. And in 2009, this McDonald's closed. So a gentleman by the name of Horter Samarison bought.
Hold on. One more time.
Wait till you see how it's spelled. HJORTUR.
Hjorter?
Horter Samarison. SMARASON. Smarison.
Those are our ancestors too.
Yeah. He bought the last McDonald's hamburger in the country.
Mm.
The last one they ever served, he purchased 10 years ago. And instead of gobbling this up, he decided to keep it. Why, you may ask? We'll never know. He's crazy like the Lion Lady. He kept the burger, accompanied by the fries, in a plastic bag for 3 years, during which he noticed it remained unchanged. So the plastic bag, okay, take anything. I don't care what it is. Anything. Put it in a plastic bag where moisture can collect. I promise you, in 3 years, mold and all kinds of things will be growing inside this. It remained unchanged. Now, the hamburger, which still to this day shows no signs of decomposition, is now exhibited in the Snotra House, which is like a community house in Iceland, in South Iceland, and was previously displayed at a hotel in Iceland. Now, here's the best part. You can go see this here hamburger and fries on live stream. It's
Yeah.
a pretty.
I'm pulling it up right now.
I'm warning you.
What are you?
It's a pretty boring live stream.
What are we eating?
But that's the real question. They are so. It's like they're made of all preservatives. Like even the potatoes or the French fries that are supposed to be made of potatoes show no signs of decomposition. It grosses me out because for so long now I've been anti-McDonald's since I found out about their shakes. Let's be honest. I used to love the strawberry shakes at McDonald's. And then I saw that they were dairy-free. So I wanted to understand, how do you have ice cream without dairy? And I did some research and found out that they actually use hydrolyzed plastic. Which is flavored.
Hydrolyzed plastic.
Which is flavored with strawberry. That cannot be good for you.
Hey.
It makes me question everything at McDonald's because this burger is 10 years old today.
But okay, so he's in Iceland, so maybe it's kept in a freezer.
No, it's kept inside in hotels. In a hotel on display at room temperature. For the first 3 years, it was in a plastic bag. I challenge you, listeners, pick anything. Other than McDonald's, pick anything. Put it in a plastic bag. See what that sucker looks like in 3 years. It is not going to look well preserved like this McDonald's burger does.
Can't do it.
Yeah. Anyway, that story grossed me out.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about the news tonight, folks.
Sorry to ruin your favorite.
So tonight we're going to talk to James. James is going to talk to us about the Travis Walton abduction story. They made a movie about it, Fire in the Sky, which will give you kind of the gist of what happened, but it has a lot of, I don't know if
inaccuracies.
I don't know if I would say they took license liberty with it, which they bought the story, so I guess they can. But
yeah, from what I understand from listening to his account, they added in and left out some things that I think would have made for an interesting show.
Yeah, for sure. for sure. So, without further ado, James.
Let's hear it for our listeners that don't know, because Fire in the Sky is kind of an old movie.
Yeah, it was like 94, I think, when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, like right up there with Goonies and stuff.
I think like the parts of the movie that was accurate was like when with them in the truck and him going out and getting zapped by the beam of light, and then them taking off and getting there and then having them be investigated, getting
So
polygraph tests and stuff.
So
Let's
tell us
start out.
from the top. Where did he work? How did he end up
What was
there?
he? What's the story pre-abduction?
Yeah, well, what he was doing, he was like 22 years old at the time. He was working with the Forestry Service. I believe what he's done, working with a man named, his foreman was named Mike Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
And they were out there just out there logging, cutting down, I think, dead trees and that, working for having a contract with Forestry Service, and they were like behind schedule, so they were working long hours to try to get caught up in that, and I think he described that maybe a lot of the guys that he worked with didn't really get along that well with each other, and there was one guy particularly that he didn't get along with very well, that when he was working with the crew, and anyway, they were working on one day there on November 5th, 1975. They were working real late, and they were driving home. It sounds like it must have been an evening, probably about when the time the sun's going down, and they see something that looks like a big light out in the woods, and they think maybe first it's a forest fire or something, and they go to investigate it, and they see this disc-shaped craft hovering in this clearing that they described that had like what looked like glowing panels on it. And Travis Walton, he just immediately jumped out of the truck and wanted to go get a closer look at it, and then suddenly it like started like getting louder, making loud humming sound stuff, and they're all yelling down, get back into the truck, and he ducked down behind a log, and then he decided, well, I better get back to the truck. You know, he said that he wanted to get out and get a closer look at it because he was afraid it would be flying away real soon, and he wanted to get a good look at it. And he got up from behind the log, and that's when they see what looked like a beam of light, almost like they described, almost like fire, just came down, just hit him and knocked him to the ground. And the rest of the guys got terrified, and they took off in their truck and went in their utility truck and drove down the road a little ways. And then Mike Rogers and said, no, we can't just leave him there. We got to go back.
One of the guys in the truck was his brother, right?
I think so.
And does Travis remember how it felt, or was he knocked unconscious? Does he describe when that beam of light hit him? Because I've heard the description from the other people in the truck, but I've never heard like his first person account. Does he remember like the light, or?
I think the only thing that I've heard him say, I think he remembers being hit by the beam of light and stuff, and after that, that's when he went unconscious. And then what happened then was he when he was waking up, he thought he was in a hospital. He saw lights and saw figures moving around, and he thought were doctors, and until his vision got clear, and
so he's like still a little hazy.
Yeah. Then when everything got clear, he saw these creatures standing around him that were short, standing 4 feet tall, having large heads, and the thing he said he could remember was their huge eyes. They said it was just like, he said they were like almost looked like 3D, and there was some sort of an object laying on his chest. I don't know what it was that fell off onto the floor, and he jumped off the table and told him to get back, and he grabbed a transparent instrument, and he actually hit the instrument on the table hoping that it would break because it looked like it was made out of glass, but it wouldn't break. And
he's trying to find a weapon.
Yeah. When he got off the table, he describes that he actually hit one of the creatures.
No, he's a Mormon boy. How would he know to look for the beer bottle knife? Maybe Arizona Mormons do it a little different.
So yeah, where at in Arizona is this?
It was near Snowflake, near town of Snowflake, where it occurred.
Haven't a clue where that is, but I'm
Yeah.
reckoning somewhere around Flagstaff.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
going to
probably
be
close to that. I think.
northeast.
Yeah.
Snowflake is northeast.
If you're cutting down trees, you're not going to do much of it down further south. 'cause
Yeah.
there's not
pretty
any
flat.
trees.
Anyway, he said he felt weakened, probably because he was weakened from hunger and thirst. But he actually hit one of the creatures with his hand when he,
When he
was getting off
jumped
the
up?
table. Yeah, when he jumped up and knocked the creature back into another creature there. I think he described that there was like 3 of them there in the room, and when he was swinging the transparent instrument at them, telling them to get back, all the creatures just left the room. Is what they did. And he went.
They were the candy stripers. They got scared. And
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, they basically just turned around, left the room, and he went into a hallway, went the opposite direction these creatures went. And he went down a hallway trying to find a way out of the ship. He said he thought maybe he could find a place to open the door or something. Thought maybe he could jump back into the forest or something, where he thought maybe he'd still be there. And then he went into this one room where there was a chair sitting there, and he was a bit nervous because he didn't know maybe there might be one of those creatures sitting in the chair there.
Because they're so small.
Yeah. And he looked around and saw there was nobody in the chair there, and saw like some controls and that was on the arm of the chair. And he thought maybe he could try to find some place where there'd be maybe one of these would open the door or something. And instead, what looked like a holographic star field appeared. Like it saw what looked like stars appeared. Like almost
like in front of him?
Yeah, like almost like a planetarium all around him.
Weird.
like in the movies when they have their maps in the movies, their star maps. I guess
Yeah,
you'd
like
call it.
like Minority Report and things like that, where they can see them, but you can see through them.
Yeah.
Or like you might see like in some of it almost sounds like what you'd see described like in some of the Star Trek or Star Wars movies, what they would
Mhm.
what they describe. But then anyway, he then turned around, saw a man standing in the doorway that looked human. I think he said there was something strange about the guy's eyes, but he looked like he was wearing a transparent helmet, almost looked like he had a fishbowl over his head.
Mm.
And he went over there telling him, asking him what was going on and stuff, and trying to communicate with him. And the guy acted like he couldn't hear him. He thought, well, maybe it's because he had this helmet on or something. And the man just kind of grabbed him and escorted him down the hallway, and then completely out of the ship he was in, apparently, into what looked like a giant hangar, or maybe it was inside of a larger ship. And he took him to a room where he said there was other human-looking people there. There was even was a woman. He described her as looking attractive. In fact, how he described her.
So he went into a hangar. So the ship had taken him somewhere else,
Or
that's what it sounds
or
like.
perhaps had flown into a larger.
or a space
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
Yeah, to a
The
base.
dark side of the moon.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Could be a base, or it could be a larger ship, maybe like a mothership.
Mm.
And
And there's other creatures there, not just little grays. There's
he describes looking human.
the fishbowl head, the beautiful
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
They're all working together. They're
Yeah.
all working together to diddle
Terrifying.
us.
And then he described that they put a something like a mask on his face, like a breathing apparatus. And he said after that he went unconscious. And then he woke up and found himself laying alongside the road. And he actually said he could see the ship flying away.
Oh, see,
So they released him?
Yeah,
I
apparently.
want to take my Kegels game to 11. I want to make it so that when I'm asleep or knocked out, automatically in Kegels. I want to make it so I have, like, here's no Kegels.
They make
Sleeping
plugs,
Kegels.
Jared.
Sleeping. I don't want to put anything in there. I think you're misunderstanding me here. Okay. No Kegels. Extreme Kegels. Sleeping Kegels. But while I sleep, I want to have it just a jump. Every once in a while, go from sleeping Kegels. That way, if someone does get past my defenses, there's pain involved. They literally
lose a finger.
lose it. I mean, they may not lose it all the way, but it's going to have marks on it. It's going to have, like, not teeth marks. I mean, it's a whole nother thing I'd have to get done. But break a knuckle.
Listen, there's all kinds of body modifications you can do.
I again, back to the original. I don't want to put nothing in there. I want to stop that.
So they make him unconscious, and then he wakes up.
Yeah.
And is he right back where they left him, or is he somewhere he doesn't recognize?
I think he said he was near a town of Heber, Arizona, was where he was at. Like,
which is not Snowflake.
No, it was several miles away.
Yeah, that's 12. That's 12 miles as the crow flies.
Yeah,
by vehicle travel, another 28, 30 miles.
And he said he just got up and went running down a road, and he found some phone booths. He said he went to one phone and it wasn't working, and then he found another phone, got it working, and called his. I think he said it was his brother-in-law, but I think is who he called. And he was surprised to find out that it was 5 days later, when it seemed like on the ship there was only just a few hours that he was there on the ship.
They could have done a lot of stuff to his poor behind in 5 days.
So at first glance, one could say they worked long hours. He was fatigued. He got knocked out. But you can't explain away how he woke up 5 days later somewhere else.
Here's the intermittent time. The police went hard at his crew.
I'm sure, because they probably think there's a missing person and you're the last to see him.
Yeah, they went right away, immediately reported it to the sheriff.
Yeah,
what had happened,
the crew went and told the sheriff. So the sheriff,
our buddy, was beamed up by
over that night, probably sat and went, they're goofing on me. But then when he never came home and the wife and the kids are without Travis, then
that changes the story.
Yeah, so, they went and told his mother, that her son was missing, and she was taking that news really hard, and one of the strange things that happened with the whole investigation was they said some men showed up with Geiger counters,
and the government.
Yeah, that's what it sounded
maybe
like.
Caught wind of it.
Yeah, it's like they probably really didn't know who they were. They might
maybe
suspect
it was the men in black.
But they were obviously reading for some level of radiation or radioactive.
Yeah, they did radiation readings, and they couldn't pick up nothing. Then the guys brought over their hard hats, and they actually picked up the Geiger counters went crazy with their hard hats.
Red trace. So you've got the sheriff is working on his level, and then you've got a government institution or the men in black who have a different set of knowledge, and they're operating on that level.
Well, it lends credence to the whole story. I understand that that's probably not their intention, but it does, because if it was just garbage, they wouldn't show up. They just wouldn't. They've got better things to do than to show up with Geiger counters and such.
Who do you think provides, fish sticks for the space station?
Yeah, then out there they did a really huge, during those 5 days, did a real huge manhunt for him.
Yeah.
They had ATVs, motorcycles, guys out there riding around trying to flying around helicopters looking for him, what they had happen. And of course there was the men were being suspected of foul play, and one of them that was really high suspect was the one that he wasn't getting along with all that well. And I think even the sheriff's deputy kept telling him, well, how about you just tell us where you put the body, and we'll call it good.
Like the trauma of watching your friend be beamed into a spaceship isn't enough.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be accused of his murder?
Well, they're probably also thinking, did that light disintegrate him?
Oh. Ooh. Turned him into particulate.
Yeah. Is there nothing left? Was it?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that angle. That's
Actually,
terrifying.
I never thought about that myself, and they might have thought he got vaporized.
Yeah, you see him get knocked down, but you don't. You drove away, so you don't.
Well,
know what
because
else
your brain wants to make sense of it, so that would be a likely scenario that you would draw, a conclusion that you would come to if you were given 5 days to think about it, that he just was vaporized. Oh, that's a
Yeah,
terrible
you know,
thought.
these guys probably would have watched episodes of Star Trek. You know,
Maybe.
Sure, sure.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, these are, you know, it's about that time. When Star Trek was out in
Yeah,
the 60s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
late 60s.
Yep.
So after he finds the
Now-
phone,
Had he been Captain James T. Kirk,
different story. Had he
that,
been, yeah.
that pretty lady and would have been impregnated.
Oh, jeez. I never watched Star
For
Trek.
sure.
After he finds the phone, what happens? He calls for help?
Yeah, I think he contacted his, I think it was his brother-in-law he contacted, and they went and picked him up, and that what they did. Well, before any of that happened, they, in their investigation, they actually did polygraph tests on all the crew there.
Yeah, multiple times.
And they got in a state examiner to come in and do the polygraph test, and he sat there and told the sheriff, well, looks like for the most part they passed him. Just one was inconclusive, because apparently the one guy, it was the one that didn't get along with Travis Walton. I think he may even had a little bit of a criminal background, even, you know, and he's afraid, well, they're going to try to pin him for the murder, you know, and he just got mad and tore off the wires and stuff that they had.
Didn't complete
but all the rest of them pretty much passed it with flying colors, and the sheriff was like in shock. You know, he thought for sure maybe they would fail the polygraph test, and this would tell us, oh yeah, these guys are involved in some sort of foul play, but they all ended up passing the polygraph test. And even later on, as I understand it, the one man took a polygraph test later on, and he passed it.
Yeah.
Oh, so did he go directly home? Did he go to a hospital?
They took him to a hospital, because apparently he was like hadn't eaten anything in 5 days.
Yeah, dehydrated.
Was dehydrated.
Had all of his clothing and everything still?
Prolapse.
Yeah, he still had that.
Bunghole.
I think he still had his. From what I've seen there, he still was clothing like you saw in the movie where he's showing him being nude and that. I don't think that's not what happened. He was fully clothed.
Yeah, because in the movie it shows him running for the phone booth.
Yeah.
And he's completely naked.
And then he's hanging out in like a gas station by the counter naked or something.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I saw that show.
Yeah. That was a little bit of creative liberty that they took. Let's make this shocking for the 70s.
You can actually go on YouTube and actually watch. I think I may have even posted it on our Facebook page.
You posted the actual interview.
Yeah, an interview
YouTube.
that somebody did of Travis Walton. Where
yeah, I watched that. And I've seen the movie, but it's been a long time.
Well, in the 70s was all about nature shots, and the movies in the 70s are so hard to watch.
Cinematography.
Oh, God,
they're just barely starting to understand panoramic views.
So
and
bad.
Yeah.
Well,
did they find anything wrong with him at the hospital? Was there anything, like, was he radioactive? Did he sprout a new digit or anything?
No, I don't think there was anything like that they detected. I think he was just like dehydrated and that. Hadn't.
One thing I have heard since then, and maybe you can confirm or dispel this, I have heard that the men in the truck have all been diagnosed with some form of cancer, and that they believe it to be due to the radiation. I've also heard that in recent years, like within the last 10 years, they sampled the trees, and the trees that were just outside the circle are growing at a rate that is 5 times faster than the ones just beyond that.
We need to get that technology.
Yeah.
But then they're not food, and then we got McDonald's trees.
Jeez, I'm telling you. So he didn't have anything strange. Did he immediately tell his story to the sheriff? Or how do you tell that story? Because you have to be at a point where you're like, all right, listen, I think I've lost my mind. I should probably be checked in somewhere.
The sheriff is probably saying, where'd you run off to?
Right.
The county spent all this money looking for you. Where did you go?
Right.
So I'm sure the sheriff went at him as well.
So did he immediately tell his story, or did it take him a while to?
I think it may have taken him a little. I imagine it might have taken him a little while. That's just kind of my guess before he would tell the whole story. And for understand it, he also ended up undergoing a polygraph test, and he passed
Right.
it as well. But
Right, and he has taken, I think, 6 throughout the years.
yeah, according to what I read there on his Facebook page, it's been like 16 of them. that he
Oh,
passed.
jeez.
There's only been 2 polygraph tests that he supposedly said he claimed that he had failed. One was done by the National Enquirer when they were
Oh, geez.
investigating the story and stuff.
Now,
Such a-
the National Enquirer is the what do you call it? The window washing paper magazine of record.
And it's also, they show it in the movies Men in Black as being what the actual story is, but nobody believes it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to get the real beef?
But that'd be backwards on this one.
It would.
But I guess they kind of figured in that polygraph test that he was, was being really emotional and really nervous, and then they redid the polygraph test and he passed it.
So a lot of things that can go into that. It could be,
Well, you have, this is something that even you would struggle to wrap your brain around. And the polygraph is only reading the signals that your body is putting out. So if you're even questioning the story,
Yep.
I mean, you have to come to terms with that first.
Yeah, it'd read your tension level. And
Well, yeah. And then the idea of retelling a story like this to anyone would give you anxiety.
Mm.
I mean, I think he's pretty comfortable now. If you listen to the interview, he still seems a little weird about giving some details, and others he's probably said enough times that he's like, okay, I'm fine with telling that.
And also it's been 50 years.
It's crazy.
Well, 45 years. It's been as old as me. Where would how would your memory be on all that stuff?
I think
Your recollection and your memory,
I think your memory on an incident like that would be pretty freaking clear.
no, we're terrible on that. I think back to big incidents that happened. Do you remember the guy, I think he crashed, this is coming from my memory, that crashed into our tree that was having a heart attack when we were little?
No.
Okay, we were both, you were probably 6, I was probably 7.
The tree that's in the middle of the...
Yeah, a guy crashed his car into it. He had a heart attack and crashed. And
I
Dad
never...
brought him in the house, and he hung out until the ambulance came.
No, I never knew about that.
You were there. We were gathered around. It's the coolest thing that ever happened in our young lives. But I'll bet my memory's wrong on it.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
He may have hit the mailbox, maybe hit the neighbor's tree. But I'm just going off of what my memory is because time has lapsed, and so it's filling in holes.
I think he did say that you're even many years later, you'd still sometimes wake up with nightmares from his experience.
You're on an alien spaceship.
Yeah, that would be traumatic.
And you didn't go Captain James T. Kirk on the hot chick.
I mean, that would be a traumatic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Does he recollect or have any recollection of anything they did to him outside of the machine or the apparatus that was on his chest and the thing they put on his face?
I don't think so. He's never mentioned anything.
Because
like
a lot of
was done.
abductees talk about pain. That what they remember the most is a tremendous amount of pain associated with whatever they were doing.
Yeah,
and mostly it's in orifices, eyes, nose, ears.
I think like Betty Hill in the Barney and Benny Hill abduction, she mentions them sticking like a large needle into her navel that was very painful. And when she was underneath hypnosis and recalling the whole thing, that they had to stop the hypnosis session because the pain was too great.
Yeah. And I follow a couple of groups that people give their abductee stories, and that is a common theme. Does he describe any pain associated with this experience?
I don't think he had described any kind of pain in that. He said he just I think the worst he had is he just felt kind of weak, and felt,
Likely from the 5 days.
yeah, like probably maybe, but sounds like it could have been weak from hunger and thirst.
Well,
And then maybe
dehydration
the thing
after
he
3
probably
days.
just remembers is fear of seeing the aliens that he described them as looking like giant fetuses. That's the kind of way he description he
Oh.
gave of them.
That's terrifying. That's terrifying.
He said they had kind of palish gray colored skin, look like the grays that are commonly seen in alien abductions. He at the time, of course, he never heard that term grays at the time when that had happened. I don't know if maybe that term was coined yet at that time.
That's an interesting idea there too, because he describes a lot of what everyone else describes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the beautiful Nordic type.
Yep. Now we've gone over the gray skin
Right.
in a way earlier podcast where that could be attributed to the ashen color of dead humans. At least that's been theorized before.
Yeah, that maybe our brain puts that together.
The giant eyes, we talked about that, but even like the decay of the eyeball in the socket wouldn't make it as big as they always talk about.
So what happened following this incident? I mean, has he ever been abducted again?
No, that's one of the interesting things about that. Apparently it was something that only was a one-time thing. He kind of thinks maybe he was just someone that was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And maybe they recognized that he wasn't what they were looking for, because that's another common theme is multiple abductions. People say that once you're abducted many times.
I think I've even heard him say something a bit strange, that he thought even it was a possibility. Maybe he was dead when they brought him on their ship and they somehow revived him.
Oh, so maybe the beam did kill him, but they hooked him up to the
whatever was on his chest.
Yeah, to the, what do they call those things? AEDs.
And then dropped him back down. They weren't exact on the location that they picked him up at.
Bleep Glorp yelled clear, and
then of course the one thing started happening was investigation by debunkers and skeptics.
Oh yeah.
One figure was, his name was Philip Glass.
Yeah.
Philip Class. Yeah, I think it's Philip Class.
Yeah.
I think it's spelled Klass.
Yeah,
Philip Class. And of course, he was a world-renowned UFO debunker.
Yeah.
Was former editor of Aviation Week magazine. What he was, and
Man in Black extraordinaire. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the men that was one of the men that was members of the crew that was a witness to what happened. Travis Walton claimed that Phil Class actually tried to bribe him for $10,000 to say the whole thing didn't happen.
There's been a couple of claims about Phil Class like that. He's
just to create a story.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a Man in Black, Betsy, you've got to make sure that you keep
everything on the down low.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to grease a few hands.
You've got to protect the galaxy quietly.
I don't think he's that cool.
I often thought sometimes these kind of skeptics and debunkers that it's like maybe they're trying to protect their own worldview that they hold on to,
their own paradigm.
Yeah. Or if some people they think like that are actually, people think that maybe there's a government conspiracy to cover it up, and these people are there to try to go about debunking certain things like that to try to create disbelief. And
there's definitely some of that. And anyone who goes too hard for a belief on either side always tries to fill in the gaps with stuff that doesn't make sense.
Versus the arrow theory, they try to create the narrative
Yes.
by filling in the gap versus just stating the facts and letting them lead where they go. Because
I think the one thing they were accused of was because they were behind on their work and their contract and stuff, that they concocted this story to
get out of
to
it.
get out of it. Yeah, that's
that's a pretty big story to come up with just to get out of that.
I've often thought, well, if you're trying to get out of something like that, when you come up with a story that would sound a little more believable, then you got zapped by a UFO. And,
right.
Right. Maybe like that they would come up with a story like he just wandered off into the woods and got lost or something.
And he was in a hotel somewhere. Yeah. That theory never held water.
And also that might make more sense if during that 5 days they had him believe that, we've stopped all cutting of trees, but they're out there secretly cutting trees, trying to catch up, maybe even.
Right.
But there's no reports of that happening.
Well, and I think he even, when questioned about that, said, listen, I could have just gone to him and said, I want out, and he would have let me out. Mm-hmm. Like this, the contractor probably wouldn't have been happy, but he doesn't want me wasting time any more than I wanted to,
And also,
had I really wanted out and just said, listen, I don't want to do this, he'd have been looking for my replacement.
Yeah.
Or others said that that they thought that they concocted a hoax by putting a balloon out in the woods there with glow sticks or something on it to deceive the other workers.
Which
sounds like a real stretch.
Like what the Brits did to the U.S. Air Force at that.
Yeah.
What was that place again?
Starts with an R, something force. The
Rendlesham Forest.
Yes, yeah. Rendlesham.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's again. It just.
That's just they're just doing that for the Queen.
Just reaching for ways to explain this. I mean, he left his mom and his wife and everything for 5 days for a prank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's kind of interesting there is that the rest of the men in the crew pretty much stuck to their story about what they had seen, what they had witnessed.
Yep.
I remember it was like one person who said one time, and I think it might have been Benjamin Franklin or somebody said this, but I remember it was talk show host. His name's Gordon G. Liddy, who was actually involved in the Watergate scandal.
Yeah, I remember.
Said that he said the only way you can keep a secret between three people is if two of them are dead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because especially under that level of scrutiny, the cops think you killed this guy. Yeah. One of them, had this been anything other than a real experience, one of them would have definitely started talking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised that they didn't make up other stories, to be honest, to try and get out from this. There was a yellow truck and this guy hopped out and grabbed him, to get out from underneath the pressure that the sheriff and everyone was putting on them.
Well, if you're going to make up a story, I mean, I wasn't around when this happened. I don't know what the feeling was. Was UFOs and aliens that prolific back then to where they would
no,
I don't know.
I think Travis Walton even stated that he actually wishes this never happened. He said he don't like the attention he's gotten and stuff, and
he lives a pretty quiet life.
Yeah.
Now he has said publicly that he is trying to get together the creative minds necessary to do his version of Fire in the Sky that includes all of the details and doesn't, change anything.
Oh, who are we going to get to act in that?
Yeah.
I mean, Travis Walton, young guy, has to have a prolific mustache. The hot chick alien. Let's find a green chick off of Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah,
let's go opposite. Danny DeVito.
Oh, stop it. As Travis?
Yeah.
Oh. Mrs. Trenchberg or whatever her name is the big the beautiful woman.
Mrs. Trenchberg. Who's that?
Yeah, off of that show. She's the weightlifting. She's the weightlifting gym teacher.
Oh, Maybelline?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
She's got a great big wart and a mustache.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I don't think I think it would be very difficult, one, to concoct a story that is told by an entire crew of people the same exact way. Even if they had planned this, there would have been, I mean, even rehearsed stories fall apart
My
under
big thing is
scrutiny.
that's what you're going to go to first.
Right.
Either this was a gaggle of the weirdest, craziest. Like, first of all, they all went out there and licked the poison dart frogs for about 7 minutes, and then started
Then they came up with this story.
drinking LSD laced beer, and then the story came up. Because other than that, you could have concocted it any number of ways.
Right. And then second, he's actually gone for 5 days.
Yeah.
And third, he shows up a long ways from home. And he's on foot. So it's not like his truck was beamed up and then his truck showed up 30 miles away. He's in a heavily forested area.
Yeah, not to mention too that he was taken to hospital, treated for probably for dehydration.
Right. So then you add that to the mix that he legitimately was not in good shape when he was picked up. And then every one of them have passed all of these polygraph tests throughout the years, and their stories never changed. And they're not the type, they haven't been the type to want to be in the spotlight and want to stay in the spotlight. I mean, Travis kind of shrunk away from the spotlight as soon as the dust settled.
Mm-hmm.
So you add all of those together, and it's a pretty compelling story.
Yeah. Either way, it's interesting,
It's a compelling story because something happened. Now, whether it was aliens or, I mean, I don't know, but something happened out there. Something was experienced.
Spaceship or the spaceport.
Yeah.
Like all the aliens get together. We're the ones left out. We don't know. Except for the
there's a
NASA and Men in Black who deliver.
High council of aliens.
Well, the NASA and the Men in Black delivering, fish sticks to them. Those are the ones that get to know.
I like the idea that we're the aliens to them.
Not when they come to our planet.
Well, they're just better at space travel, but they found a planet that's inhabited by aliens, Earth aliens, and they're taking specimens of us. They're trying to understand what we're doing. I like that idea that we're the aliens.
Of course, an interesting idea that was put forth by, I think it was Jacques Vallée, the French UFO investigator. He was an astronomer.
A little closer to the mic.
Yeah, he was an astronomer and computer scientist who had worked in the French space program, and then later on he worked in NASA. And he wrote several books about the UFO subject. He was kind of frustrated with the scientific community because they pretty much dismissed the whole UFO phenomenon, and he later on kind of changed his thought about this actually being work of aliens. He thought it could be something more like something extra dimensional.
Yeah. Let's not bleed into that too much. I think we should do a whole show on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another show I think we should do is on the eyewitness testimony of air traffic control, because there's not a single air traffic control personnel that will tell you that there are not unidentified flying objects. And they now, I mean, for years and years, we just didn't have the technology, but they now can identify lots of things in the airspace, especially near airports because of all of the air traffic. And they all say they experience really strange things.
Yeah, I think there was the O'Hare Airport a few years ago where there was actually a sighting of a UFO right in broad daylight, and there was like 3 different people who took a picture of the object that was there at the hovering over the airport.
Yeah. Yeah. They see them all the time. And not just on their radar, but they see them, like James said, they see them, with the naked eye. But they see a lot on the radar that they then radio to, the closest pilot, look over here and tell me if you see anything. We're getting this strange anomaly. Then there was those ones that I saw a video of one recorded from an aircraft window where the lady was taking pictures out the window of the clouds and the sunset and found something that was following the plane. And she recorded a good 3 minutes of it. This, whatever it is not, it's not your normal aircraft type. It looks like cylindrical, and it's darting up above the clouds and then catching up to the plane and then going back down and then coming back
The
up.
cigar shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be the same video I saw that it looked almost reminded me like of a whale jumping out of the ocean, what it did, and it kind of came back down into the clouds.
And she recorded a lot of it, and you can tell in her voice that she's genuinely concerned. And she keeps telling whoever is by the window, "Don't you close that window. Sit back so I can see."
Generally freaked out.
Yeah. So
I would have.
I just think that the Travis Walton experience was unique for his time, but I don't think it was given enough credit.
It's as far as abduction stories go, it's probably the best one.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's the one that comes out most concise right then. Whether that makes, I'd say the best one, like for my mindset, like the Benny and Betty, their story kept changing and adding to it over the years.
Right.
Where this one came out and that was the story that day, and it's been the same one ever since.
Right. And the fact that they went down and immediately reported him missing, and in their report stated that there was a beam of light and he disappeared.
Yeah.
That lends credence, because it's not like they went home and were like, "Okay, guys, we've done this horrible thing to him. We've got to come up with a story." They immediately went and reported him missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really for me, that's the best one.
It's terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for joining. And they didn't get him in his sleep, which is a good thing, but they knocked him out. So I need to turn my Kegels game up. I need that to be like my idle state of knocked out needs to be. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, James.
Yes. Thank you.
That's
Thanks for having me.
That's a great story.
We'll have you in again soon. Remember to jump on our Facebook and rate and review and like and share and all that stuff. Tell a friend about it. Next week, we've got Les coming in. Got some Bigfoot talk.
Gonna talk some Bigfoot.
Yeah.
There's been some new things.
I know. Don't get into it.
It's not stagnant. The Bigfoot world carries on.
Is that your uncle that's into the Bigfoot?
He's our cousin.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the person I think Brent told me about.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he'll be on next week. We're gonna do some Bigfoot talk.
It'll be awesome.
And then
we've got probably the following week we're gonna be talking with the psychic.
Yep, talking with the psychic.
Yeah.
Gonna have her do a reading on me.
It's interesting.
Like,
she did a reading for me. Yeah.
You're empty, but you're clamped up behind you. What's going on? Why do I sense all that stress underneath you? Well, let me tell you, we talk about aliens a little bit. So I've been training myself to be clamped.
Awesome.
You might feel a pressure. All right.
Thanks for
joining us.
Have a great week.
Mm.